everybody, JP Moss here. Yes, I'm author JP Moss. I never smile in my videos. It's always, hello, aliens. Hi. Hi. Hello. And Buddha says hi. Let's get serious. Alright. Okay. First, we're going to talk a little. We're going to outline some things in this video about, one, extraterrestrial contact with people on Earth, such as myself. Two, the government's involvement in this. Does the government want you to have contact with aliens or ETs? And the answer is no. Do they try to prevent and perhaps control this, what they have within their underground bases? Yes. Why? Technology procurement. It's very simple. Any sufficiently advanced civilization coming here visiting this planet, or having been from this planet, that is indeed more advanced than the human beings living on its surface, have a technological advantage over the nation on Earth which claims to be the most powerful nation on the planet. In fact, every nation on the planet would have an interest a vested interest in technology procurement. Most of them don't have any interest, as far as I know. America doesn't have any interest in having any direct communication and meaningful dialogue with the ET aliens and non-human terrestrials. That's people that are from the Earth but not human. Not everybody died when the great comet struck the Earth 65 million years ago. There were many survivors, and they went on to evolve, or perhaps were already evolved at that time, as a sentient, intelligent race. They've had many descendants of their race since. 65 million years is a long time. Indeed, many of them have come out of this, have evolved and become so intelligent, they're not really anybody that you could sit down and have a conversation with or deal with. There are lesser advanced and more equal to human level intelligence reptilian beings, saurian or dino people, if you whatever you want to call them, that are descendants of the descendants of the descendants of the original dinosaurs. They live underground. And in fact, there are a lot of whistleblowers that have tried to bring this public and have all been killed. They're all dead. So, you know, we know that technology procurement from people like Bob Lazar, what he saw at S4, Papoose Lake, Nevada, Area 51, was a priority. Reverse engineer the technology you have. And he wasn't given any access to any beings and entities to help him do it. And it says very clearly, if you know anything about FBI profiling, that right there, if you look at it as a crime case, then what we're dealing with are pirates. They've basically got this technology in their possession, and it wasn't given to them. Bob did indicate in his eyewitness testimony that one of the saucers was upturned on its side with a huge blast ejecta hole in the side of it. Ejecta blast looked like a high velocity projectile had hit this thing and blew it apart. Occupants are often taken hostage, and hostages are then told to contact their people. You do this for us or these ones will die. Understand, of course, that civilizations that don't have concept of death view death very differently from the human race. So death for them is not really a big deal. What they can do is they can take somebody, they have this technology, and that's all I can say about it. I can't tell you how this is done, but they have a technology. And this technology, they can grab a soul, a discarnate soul of one of their own, wandering or somewhere and hanging about somewhere, and they can then either repair the body that was that died and put it back into that body, or give them a new body, what they call containers. So there isn't anything that death really isn't a big. You can't really kill them, and you can't lie to them because they're telepaths. So if you are in that side of the fence and you see them as enemy, you got your work cut out for you. You need to rethink your policy. They're not taking over your country. They're not doing anything of the kind of that nature. So you got, I think, a whole rethink of how you do this needs to be worked out for the benefit of everybody involved. Even if you don't take this full public, America, intelligence community, you need to rethink your policy and how you deal with this situation. I know from the information I receive and what I get by various means, and you don't have to believe this, they are not handling it well. Things are not going well. There isn't any kind of really a strong mutual contact going on. But then it doesn't have to be. If the human race blew itself up in a nuclear war tomorrow afternoon at 2 in the afternoon, Greenwich Mean Time, everybody died off within a few months, they would survive. They would be below ground in Colorado, New Mexico. They would be below ground in various other locations here in England and around the world, in fact, and in India and South America, where they've got underground facilities there. And they would make it. They would come through the nuclear winter. Within a few centuries, the Earth would be cleaned up, and they would carry on living on this planet as they have done for centuries. The Zetas and the Z-bands and other civilizations have been here for thousands of years. They've been here for a long time. Now we're going to talk about the PSB-7 spirit box, recent findings and research. How the PSB-7 spirit box talks to ET beings, or we'll say aliens if you want. First of all, the skeptics that saw that post on Facebook on a page called DV SETI, Direct Voice Communication with Extraterrestrial Intelligences, and the acronym is DVCETI. I created that like page on Facebook, and it encompasses the research and any contact with these non-human beings, non-human terrestrials, or non-human extraterrestrials, as it were. First thing that hit me were a few scientists that said to me, if you're talking about what I think you're talking about, then you are crazy. Now, I like how people don't ask questions and just jump to conclusions. And I'm going to say what they said. And they said, you know, I've got friends that work for the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence that would be offended and find this appalling what you're doing, what you're putting out there. You should be ashamed of yourself. It's absolutely appalling. It's ridiculous. They said, you're telling me that all I got to do is get a phone with an app on it that is a spirit box app, Jason. You know when people don't like you. They don't call you by your author name, JP, and you're not JP anymore. You're Jason. You're like, I'm a 44-year-old man with an education, and I'm an adult anymore. I'm not being spoke to like an adult. I'm not an adult, not an equal in any way at all. I'm Jason. His hand comes down doing this. Come on. So they said to me, so you're telling us that all you've got to do is get on a phone app and then talk to it, Spirit Box phone app, and aliens will talk to you from across the galaxy, where we sit in SETI and we have 50 billion watt receivers with receiver dishes, antenna dishes that are hundreds of meters across. We've gone to Arecibo, and it's a giant dish. Chinese just built a giant dish that's about 5 football lengths across. And we've spent 30, 40, 45 years, hundreds of millions of dollars, millions and millions in huge receiver equipment, and you're telling us that all it was sit down with a phone app and have a chat with ETs? Well, you need mental help. You're crazy. You need to be locked up. You're lying to the public. You're selling them something. This is some kind of a new age pseudoscience gimmick. And I'm not mad because I know my results are genuine. And I just sat there for a minute and I let him finish. I said, "You finished? Okay. Okay. Well, here are my findings briefly in my notes." And it doesn't take a lot. First of all, when we talk about, let's go to one. Extraterrestrials, it is understood, are already visiting and engaging planet Earth at this time. 2, extraterrestrials that we are concerned with in our research are not energy beings. For this, there are non-human energy entities in other dimensions, but for this research we are concerned with physical, flesh and blood, non-human intelligences that are here. Let me make the distinction. Let's go a step further. Here on this planet. Okay, they're already here. To our SETI scientists and skeptics. First of all, 1, they are here. 2, they are flesh and blood beings. Now that's important to make that distinction. For my research, this is important. Because a lot of people, I've only dealt with flesh and blood beings, by the way. I've never had any dealing with energy beings. You're going to be surprised to hear that. I've never had any. Somebody said you're just in a lot of spiritual stuff, and I said in a group called Passport to the Cosmos a few years ago, and I got yelled at for saying it. I said I'm not being spiritual. Oh, you're not spiritual? Well, then how do you contact them? You're always putting spiritual stuff out there. And I said, no, that's not what's happening. This is I'm talking about physics, and it does come off sounding spiritual the way that this contact goes down. There's a lot of feelings in the contact going on between me and this one being I call Beniko. She told me to call her Beniko. Now, 1, it is understood that we are dealing with flesh and blood beings. They're living, breathing, and they're here on Earth. Yes, you could have contact with them through a parallel Earth, a parallel reality, parallel existence, which is close to our own reality. But for the purpose of this research, we are dealing with flesh and blood beings and trying to communicating with them. These are the very same flesh and blood beings that occupy and fly, number 2, occupy and fly what you call UFOs, unidentified flying objects, saucers, triangular craft of various shapes and sizes that have been captured in video all over the world, and according to Bob Lazar, S4 have the ships, and they've been trying to reverse engineer them. Okay, number 3, when you're using a PSB-7 spirit box or a phone app or any kind of a spirit box app program of any kind, it utilizes radio frequency, radio energy. Number 4, they hear you talking through your own mind and spirit. The PSB-7 hears nothing. Let me say this again very clearly. For the purpose of contact with flesh and blood beings for the time being, it is understood that they are here on Earth, they are inhabiting this planet at this time, and they are also thought projective beings. Okay? They have telepathy. And let me define that. This is telepathy in the form of a brain that has the ability to send and receive information through a radio transmission from the mind itself, an electrical field, electromagnetic radio, biological radio transmitter receiver, which is in their own minds. They are telepathic and can communicate with human beings and animals and other beings that have brains. They can communicate with species that are not telepathic. If they wanted to, their brains can pick up radio signals. They can hear radio stations in their own minds. So it is understood that they're on this planet, on Earth at this time, and they are telepathic beings that can hear radio in their head. They can also transmit at a radio frequency from their own minds. Human beings are not telepathic, do not possess this function and ability. For the purpose of this video, I need to make that disclaimer. Human beings, though many claim telepathy, and I do not claim to be telepathic. When you use the spirit box or a phone app, they hear you communicating through your own spirit, your energy. They hear nothing from the app itself. You see people talking to a spirit box doing that. They don't hear anything on this. They hear you communicating. Now we move on, and they see what you are using to communicate with and use the radio, the electricity, the energy fields in their brains to form words and their own voices. It is their voices you're hearing as it comes over speakers. We are hearing their thoughts projected into the app or actual spirit box from another location in space-time near your location geographically. Either from another reality seated near you or some, okay, but for this research it's in this reality, okay, not another parallel universe. They are telepaths. We are not. They hear your thoughts first. Then you speak aloud what you are in tune with. Now that's very important. How do you know? Okay, so you speak out loud. You already have, it is understood for this research, that you already have a being, entity, or non-human terrestrial person by name or a close association with, identity, or identify with, or have contact with, or have seen in your abduction experiences, contact experiences. And you are also aware of the civilization races that are on this planet at the time, or have knowledge and experience of where they're located at. So you already have a foreknowledge of a location. This is something like remote viewing. For any of you who are familiar with psychic remote viewing, which was used by the U.S. Army Intelligence under Project Sunstreak and Project Grilled Fire, and the CIA used them as well as psychic spies. They trained people up to be psychic spies to spy on Russia. There have been people that have wrote books about this, and it has been confirmed through the Freedom of Information Act that such organizations, such things did exist in the U.S. government. The government took psychic stuff seriously enough to spend millions of dollars in this, and it's believed they still use them. Remote viewers have to have a target location and a person before they can project their conscious to through meditation to see what that person's saying and doing, and then they write down that information with their mind. This works the same way. You're in tune with an extraterrestrial, a human hybrid, an ET, an alien, or something that is of non-human intelligence that is here on this planet. Again, I'll make that very clear, here on this planet. It is not believed, though it is possible, that for the point of this research, we are not trying to communicate with extraterrestrial aliens or beings inhabiting other star systems many thousands of light years away. I do not postulate that this technology, spirit boxes or phone apps, will get you into contact with somebody across the galaxy, but that's not ruled out. This has many applications, and it can get pretty complicated. For the point of this base research, we're going to talk about flesh and blood beings on Earth. Through interdimensional contact, yes, I would say across the galaxy that can be done. I don't want to get anybody arguing with me. Yeah, you can with all the... For this research, this base research is leading to something. I'll continue with that. Okay, so you are speaking out loud. The spirit box does not hear anything. It doesn't have a microphone. Okay, your phone app, though it has a microphone built on your telephone, they're not hearing anything from that device. It's possible they are if a microphone is there. But we've used spirit boxes that don't have any microphones on them at all, and they're able to come through very clearly. Okay, So a person produces hundreds of volts of electricity naturally in their body. Though we're not telepaths, when we think about somebody, we're projecting to that person naturally. There's a projection going on. I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking to you. Here you are. I'm projecting to you. Okay, so contact is ongoing. Somebody else around the world may feel that coming across. That's like a latent form of telepathy. Human beings, there's electrical field, radio field that already emanates from our bodies. They have a much more evolved sense of communication, telepathy, thought projection. It's a radio, biological, thought projective emanation and reception. Okay, so you're in tune with a being that you're now speaking out to. And so the being, as you connect to them in your mind, you speak out loud. What they're listening to are the words in your head, not coming out of your mouth. Speaking from your mind and your heart. You must first know who you are reaching to mentally. Okay, I've covered that, i.e., a memory of that person followed by feelings, love, etc. We cannot hear them telepathically. Now, some would argue, yes, you can hear them telepathically. That is something that can be done psychically. You can hear them, you tune into them. I know that I feel that from Benico. So they see the technology we are using. They form speech and communication through the PSB-7 spirit box or other form of spirit box. That's how that works. And what the end result is, okay, so I said I would like to see your vessel's vehicle or craft that you occupy and fly around in. And so they hopped into, presumably hopped in those craft or were already in those craft at the time, or remotely controlled drone vehicles of some kind. And within minutes of doing spirit box sessions and communicating with them, the vehicles were then seen over my neighborhood. This is something that's been repeated more than twice to satisfy the science on this kind of experimentation for communication. And so we have a physical vehicle that is then photographed. The photograph of the vehicle enlarged is identical to what Bob Lazar described it as for. It is, he called it a Zeta ship from Zeta Reticulum 4. The vehicle is saucer-shaped. Vehicles can be triangular. They do emanate a pure white glow around the craft, and Bob has explained in a high detail why that happens and the technology on that. Refer to his videos, not me. Okay, I'm not here to explain that. And this is something that's been repeated more than twice, and that science says do it more than 2 times, and you've got more than proof of concept. You've now got proof of communication. I've also said, can I meet you in the forest using this technology, this means of communication? And face-to-face contact has taken place, where a being was seen in 2014 face-to-face at the entrance to the forest here in England, in a park not far from me. After midnight, late at night. It was a Zeta human hybrid female. Okay, having covered all that, the PSB-7 spirit box is an electrical device. It uses radio frequency. So it generates its own power. It has a battery. Most of the time it's either a phone app or a box, or it has its own power source. Why this is so much more effective than just sitting down telepathically doing a psychic communication. My research has said that the PSB-7 spirit box, or the phone apps, or the phone which has a battery, a receiver, has a radio field, acts as a repeater, an antenna repeater. A repeater is an antenna that receives a signal and from another source, another location far away. It then picks up the signal. It can be very faint, weak. It amplifies the signal with its own power many times, and then retransmits the signal in an instant to you where you're sitting. So you get a crisper, cleaner, louder reception. Using the spirit box technology in the way of communicating with non-terrestrial beings is advantageous, inasmuch that it helps to focus the connection. maintain a cohesive contact. You can also record your information with a small video device or a tape recorder. You can play it back. You have something tangible. You have evidence now. How do you know this is real? Well, you simply ask them to do something. Can you appear? Can I see you? They're often willing to oblige, and they will present themselves in some form or another, physically. Again, we are dealing with physical beings, flesh and blood beings of non-human origin. And, well, we know that because after seeing them face to face, we discovered that, in fact, we're dealing with non-human beings, what we saw in the forest. It was also through my calling to the local forest out here where I live that I then began taking pictures of that particular area and mapped out the area over the last few years and taken hundreds of pictures. Many of the pictures, over 100 of them, have come up with ET-looking mantids, praying mantids, mantis-like beings and whatnot that are in the forest. There have been hybrid human-looking beings that have come up in that forest also. As I said, they're flesh and blood beings, so why are they non-corporeal? Why do they look ghostly? Why aren't they solid standing there in front of me? The simple answer would be, that's their security. That's their rules. I don't know why people expect them to just do what we tell them. Hi, land on the White House lawn. You must remember that if you've listened to my videos about Benico and the experience in 1992, it was a tragedy. Though it was nice to meet her, fall in love, have that love, we share love, we held each other. This isn't a Disney movie. The military intelligence brought her to me for many different purposes and reasons. In our Black Ops program out of Dulce, and from an underground base there, they had her. Okay, she was a human hybrid being, and when they brought her to me, it was to monitor my interaction with her, it was to monitor her reaction, it was to monitor our connection, the claim of a connection. It was for many reasons. They mistreated her, mishandled her as I witnessed, and they assaulted her. As I said in one video, it's possible that it could have been a screening from Benico to prevent me from getting close to them and working with them. Because someone like me comes along and they want to recruit me, come on in and work with us. Well, first of all, I am not against the United States. As you can see, USA on my patch. I'm a patriot. And, but I don't agree with harming innocent beings like her. I think that's wrong. I think it was a violation of everything that's ethical and moral. I love her. She loves me. And I'm coming to you on behalf of both of us when I make these videos and this research. And now the purpose of the research. The purpose of the research is so that the general public and researchers out there may develop and foster and facilitate an ongoing hard evidence communication with the non-human intelligences engaging this planet and living on this planet and cohabiting this planet with you at this time. It is understood that these are not visitors visiting and leaving. They live here. They've been here for a long time and pose no threat to you or anyone else. The only threat would be the fact that this is a technology that the U.S. government and other governments would like to get their hands on. And they don't want you talking to them or dealing with this because there's a chance that you may come off with that piece, chunks of that technology, and sell it to somebody overseas or use it against them or whatever. They don't understand. This is their security issue. Second, they don't want this out in the open because then they have to admit that they're living underground in North America. It's a simple fact why so many people like Phil Schneider and the others have been killed for talking about this. It's one thing to say that you have no control over your airspace, but then to say that you don't have any control over what's above and below your great powerful country could send some people into panic. Or maybe some wackos to go down in those caves with big weapons and thinking they have to kill the alien invaders, yeah, and try to imitate some kind of Independence Day heroism and having no idea who they're dealing with. These are peaceful beings. Sadly, when some of them fall in the hands of the intelligence community, they are abused, sexually assaulted. That has happened also with hybrid females. Because they don't look all that dissimilar from human females, and they don't have any lawful legal rights, and these men don't see them or perceive them as being people with rights, they declothe them and begin sexually assaulting them. Now, I've not talked about another experience. I've left that alone for 6 long years of some other issues involving the Benico encounter that involved sexual rape and sexual misconduct. And I think they learned that she'd contacted me by phone prior to meeting me that night. And either it was her or another being. I don't want to say for this video to kind of keep that one a little bit more under wraps. But I got a phone call, and it was a being that, girl, hybrid, female, that was then sexually assaulted over the phone in front of me. Now, I was also told by a colonel who came to me weeks later that Benico was in fact killed, and that they had shot her in the head. And she presented to me a photograph of a black-haired girl that was dead with a bullet hole in her skull. Like a projectile had blown her head apart. The back was 2 pictures. It was like one picture. You could see several images, and it was an image of a body. Eyes were open, and you could see the entrance point of a projectile. There was blood, and you could see the back of the skull where it looked like it had ejected with a great deal of force and blew apart her brain matter and material. He then goes on to tell me that he pulled the trigger and he killed her. There was a blonde soldier with me at the time, a sergeant or somebody, that didn't agree on what he had done. I was then contacted sometime later by that particular soldier, that female, who was very panicky and panic-stricken, and she said that in fact the body that was in cold storage in an underground facility, I don't remember where she said, Confabulation, Edwards Air Force Base. Throw whatever you want in there, but she said underground facility. And she said that it was gone, and she was quite frightened. Now, I was telling them, I didn't really deal with these people. I was very angry with them, but I told them that my future self had come back in time and saved Benico. That is still what I remember. I still remember seeing my future self coming back to get Benico. But having said that, I've got to report everything in my research and what I've discovered. So the lady says, she says, we know you told us that, but we don't have a memory of those events happening. But she was quite panicked. She said, the body's gone. And I says, well, maybe this is a timeline issue, and the was never there. Perhaps it was never there. And the woman was very frightened of such a prospect, that time travel was involved in this, or something was going on. Recently, I have information through the use of this technology and by other means. I have found that Benico is very much alive. Now, how is that? That's completely inconsistent to what you've just told us. Okay, the body was taken out. I believed it was a time travel incident, and a timeline was fusing together somehow, and the body was never there. I'm going to forget the time travel theory just for a minute. I said it many years ago. I'm saying it now. I don't believe it was a time travel, why the body of Benico was taken out of cold storage. I don't believe that it was, I think at this point, from what I've just been told recently, the body was taken out by the Zetas. The aliens took the body out. There's some agreement with somebody within the government for some reason. They repaired the body, and they put her soul back in it. They can do this. We're dealing with very advanced technologies that don't see death as the end of everything. Now, why they didn't give her a new body, I don't know. I didn't ask those questions. I'm glad they did this. They brought her back to life. They repaired her. And I get the information from Benico herself. Well, I can get it through my own psychic connection. I have a recording, I have an actual recording, where she is telling me through the PSB-7 box, she is saying to me, they shot me. She says, they shot me. Because I was talking about other issues. I said, the soldiers mistreated you before and after the incident, that they mistreated you. She said, the eventual outcome was they shot me. She speaks very monotonously. They shot me. And I thought, well, that's consistent with what that colonel told me. And I have to rethink my theory on the time travel incident. Now I got to go back to think about that one. Did I go back in time at all? Did they send me back there? Was I working with the Zetas? Did they send me back there? And now I'm beginning to think there is the probability that was a projection. So she was perhaps putting in my head in the last moments of our contact before that night ended. So I would see a happy ending to that night. Perhaps there was no time travel. Benico sees the future of me and knows what I look like anyways. Now, I don't know. That's a hard one to answer. Okay, that's a difficult one to answer, because I do have a memory of one event going down one way and there's another event going another way. It could be a quantum memory, as one researcher called it. But I've got to leave the possibility that it's all screen projection from her to say, look, you saved me. Maybe being psychic, she can see the future. In a very real sense, my future self did save her. My talking to you, making these hundreds of videos and that stuff I put on Facebook, has saved her and many others like her. So perhaps it's a projection of me from the future. She sees in her mind, throws it into my head and says, metaphorically, it's like you came back in time to grab me off this very street and take me away where we're safe together. In other words, because I've done this, it perhaps raised the bar with aliens talking to the U.S. government. It's like, well, who's this? What's this man talking about? Where is she? We want her. They go back to that time period because they can time travel. They go back there without me and grab the body, fix it, because they can do that. Yes, even with a bullet hole to the head, they can do this. They are that advanced. They create clones of themselves. It's been reported they can create clones of human beings indistinguishable from the actual person. And for all you know, I'm a clone. I've got to keep these doors open. As a researcher, I've got to keep everything open. Keep everything as, consider all possibilities. Yes, I went back there. No, I didn't, but it was a projection. Okay? That's responsible researching. Don't cling to something just because it makes you sound cool. Well, I like the other ones that made me sound neat. I'm a time traveler. No. You are a researcher. You're responsible for what you put out there. You're responsible for it being accurate and no confabulation. You're responsible for doing this. This is helping people. It's helping people with their experiences. It's helping these beings. And another purpose for this communication with the general public, or people, ordinary folks like myself, would be that because they're all locked up under secrecy and their civilization has issues of no contact with a developing civilization, that's a peaceful reason for no direct interaction. While they have their rules and regulations, governments on this planet take advantage of their secrecy. And they have their own reason for keeping secrecy, so they got two separate reasons for keeping secrets. I'll pick on America. America and the aliens have different reasons for doing the same thing, okay? One has an agenda to get technology. The other has a purpose of, you're not ready for it yet. You're still developing. But recently there's been a change in this with this side, and they're saying, let's keep reaching out to more people. We may not get everybody. Not going to get 7 billion. No, that's unrealistic. You're not going to get that. Mass Earth global disclosure. You will get you watching the videos, you out there, yes. And the more you have that contact, the more you talk about it, the more you're having it, the more you can spread it out and talk about it, the safer it makes them. You prevent Jason Mosses and Benicos from having to meet up like that on dark streets with military intelligence pointing rifles at our heads and harming this sweet girl and harming anyone of her kind. Okay? It's very complicated. I love her very dearly. And mainly the main reason for it all, folks, at the end of the day, love. I love her. And I don't care what people think about that. I don't care if they think I'm crazy or a freak, or don't believe it, or call me crazy, or even those that do believe it, and think it's creepy or whatever. Oh, God. Oh, my God. Oh. And, some of you out there may look upon her by the way she looks. I think she's beautiful. Some of you may look upon her and try to put her in one of your YouTube creature videos with a lot of scary music around it, and zoom in on the picture of her face and come back and You know, that's not nice. Okay, that's mean. That's horrible. You know, I love this person very dearly, and I will hold her again one day. I will. I held her once before. We've been having encounters. Because of their rules, I'm not seeing it, you know, as clearly as I'd like to. But it will be clear. It will be conscious. It will be like it was before. I will do that again. And if I have to make an agreement with the government to do it, I'll do it. If they, I don't. From what I recently got, they don't have her. But the government is not evil. But they do have the channels to facilitate a kind of contact like that again. Hopefully this time it won't be with guns aimed at my skull and her head with harming her. Hopefully it will be very peaceful, very mutual, where they're leaving us the hell alone. We can have our moment to sit and visit with each other and not have to deal with them threatening our lives or trying to upset us or traumatize us in some way. Anyways, that's my video. Thank you for watching. God bless. Yeah, I do think there's a God. I'm not anti-God. Okay. And hope this information helps you in your contact and communication with your non-human friends.